It's Sam and Jordan with the Cinema Scoop podcast, and we're back to talk about Oscars, but this time we're talking about Honorary Oscars.
Okay, so we will be going over our 10 categories we would add if we were in charge of the Oscars, and we will name a few movies from 2023 or a few nominees that we would give or some potential winners for these new categories. So our first new category is Bestest Goodest Boy, aka Best Animal in a Movie Award.
And the award for this goes to, but it's Snoop in Anatomy of a Fall. We just finally saw this last night. Yeah, not to give anything away, but his performance, there was a part while it was happening where I asked Sam, I was like, how did they do this?
This is top tier level dog acting for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And he has multiple scenes where he's actually integral to the plot.
Yeah, and this is also not a spoiler, but if you're a dog lover, this is maybe a hard one to watch, but the dog does not die is the central thing. I always have to look up stuff on doesthedogdie.com just because, I can't stand it when a dog dies in a movie for, no reason or it's, really graphic or whatever. So I remembered looking this up and being like, oh, that's weird. I didn't realize there was going to be a dog in Anatomy of a Fall. And turns out it's, very integral to the plot. And, yeah, I think he stood the cast up. He was the glue that held them all together. We have a couple runners up for this just because there are a couple of other animals in movies this year that really stood out. I feel like the best character in Maestro was Snoopy, both the, float version and the one that's in the vestibule. Yeah. And he was arguably my favorite part of Maestro. So, and that says something.
Yeah, and then Poor Things had a lot of animal hybrids. There's a half dog, half duck hybrid. There's a chicken thing.
There's lots of Frankenstein animals mishmashed together. Yeah, I feel like that one was one of the funniest dog moments, but I know it's all done in post, so I know that wasn't one dog acting, so can't take it home. Also, there is a dog in Fallen Leaves, but I honestly don't think he did I don't think she did a ton of acting. She didn't have as much of an integral plot.
Yeah, she was just kind of there.
Yeah, made the movie really good, but definitely not the bestest goodest boy award.
And our second category is Best Stunt Performance. There's been a lot of conversation in the past few years about potentially adding a Best Stunt category to the Oscars, mostly because of Tom Cruise and his latest movie, so I would definitely nominate Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning for this, especially the sequence where they jump off the mountain on the motorcycle.
And not Dead Reckoning Part 1 anymore. It's no longer Part 1.
Yeah, I guess not.
Is the definition of this, just because I haven't seen Mission Impossible, but is this Best Stunt Actor, being Tom Cruise, receives the award, or is this Best Stunt Coordination?
He does his own stunt, so
I understand that. Yeah, but I'm saying, is the award the coordination, or is the award the performer?
Yeah, the act of doing the stunt, how it's choreographed and created.
So he stands up the award, but then the rest of the stunt crew goes up with him.
Yeah, they would all.
Yeah,
I like that. The whole team would win. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I didn't really have any other nominees specifically. There's a lot of action movies this year I didn't really see, so I'm.
I mean, The Killer, I guess, had pretty decent stuff going on that requires stunt work, I suppose, but nothing
I feel John Wick 4 probably had good stunts, but I didn't see it.
But I haven't seen that. And, no surprise there. A dog dies in John Wick 1, so I haven't seen it. So, but once I get over that, I can maybe get on to John Wick 4 to be able to say if there was good stunts. But Which actually, I think I saw this on somebody's seat back, like diagonal from me on a flight recently. And I remember thinking, I was like, this is really, really well choreographed stunt work. But again, I have zero context.
Yeah, they have a lot of
what's
fight sequences. Yeah. So, our next category is Best Young Acting Performance. I feel like a lot of good kid or teenage performances don't get recognized at the Oscars most of the time. So I think if you had their own specific category and you could determine the age specifically, but like in Anatomy of a Fall, the son, I think he's like, how old is he?
Oh, I don't know.
Like 12 maybe?
Maybe 12.
But
12 or 13.
He's really good. You mentioned the two younger leads in Past Lives when they're kids at the beginning.
Yeah. Those are all very good. And then, like, the thing I think that's important with this is that, like, the actor themselves has to be under a certain age. Like, it can't just be somebody portraying an underage person. Like, Bottoms with the AO, Edebiri, like, that doesn't count because she's not underage. Like, it specifically needs to be an award that recognizes, like, young actors and actresses. You know what I mean?
Someone like Dominic Sessa in The Holdovers, was 21.
This wouldn't count.
So he would probably be just, like, a little bit too old, maybe, even though he's playing a high schooler. So, yeah, like, I'm thinking more, like, younger. Like, so, like, Knock at the Cabin has a little girl who's pretty good. And then Asteroid City has a lot of kids as well.
But, like, not one standout performance.
No.
Not like in Anatomy of a Fall. He's, like, arguably a supporting actor in the entire movie and has, like, a huge character arc for, I don't know how old the actor is, but for a 12 and 13-year-old character, you know. Yeah, so the next one is Best Ensemble Cast. And I think this is up for debate as to what ensemble can be defined as. One could say it needs to be at least 3. But maybe I would even say, like, probably a 4-person ensemble.
Yeah, I feel
cast.
like if you have 4 or 5, it's definitely would be considered an ensemble.
Yeah.
So you have Saltburn.
I put Saltburn as the best, but you could honestly argue that
May December has 3 really good ones, but that's kind of like...
But it's 3.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, well...
Same with the Holdovers.
Exactly. It's 3 again. So it's like, they're close. And then, you know, you could say that a good ensemble cast is Poor Things. That's more like 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you throw in the last 30 to 45 minutes of the movie, there's another, like, 2 semi-large characters thrown in with Margaret Qualley and Christopher Abbott. So it's like...
Yeah, Oppenheimer has a big cast, Barbie. This would be an interesting category to add because sometimes there's not one standout.
Yeah, exactly.
And so everyone gets missed. So I think that'd be a good category. And then our next category is a specific costume item or fit. So there's obviously costume design.
Yeah.
For the Oscars, but I think we need to get a little more specific.
As a fashion girly, I agree.
Especially with movies like Barbie and Poor Things that came out, and they have such good specific outfits. You can pick any one of the Barbie outfits.
It should go into a museum every single year.
Yeah, that'd be a great idea to put in the Academy Museum.
Yeah.
This is the 2023 best outfit.
Yeah, like the best fashion piece. And it could be the entire outfit. It could be a singular piece. Like, arguably, if we could go back in time, the year that ended the Harry Potter franchise, they could do Harry's glasses. It's like, duh. That had to be.
Or the sorting hat.
Or the sorting hat. Like, you know, like there's all these random fashion pieces or like motifs or icons that you could like eventually have in like a museum of some kind.
There's also a lot of movies that just have really good hats. So like Oppenheimer's hat.
Yep.
Would have been a good one.
Yep. I mean, you could arguably say any outfit of Barbie's in the Barbie movie. I feel like her cowgirl outfit became like the quintessential Halloween Barbie outfit, the gingham dress. There's so many different, the roller skating outfit with her and Ken. Like, there's a million different ones that are exact replicas of dolls that existed at one point. So it's like, that's a very good one. And then I think the other, I personally really liked, obviously I really liked Saltburn, but the birthday party for Oliver that's Midsummer Night's Dream themed has extremely, I think maybe for some people they think it's cringy outfit choices, but for me it's like quintessential '06 cosplaying type of outfits with like the antlers and the wings, and like I just loved that scene and I liked the costuming of that scene a lot. So I feel like any piece from that, maybe even just Felix's gold wings, I'm like, cool. It's very, very reminiscent of the Baz Luhrmann Romeo and Juliet scene with, yeah. So I love that. So I think that would be another good fashion piece of the year.
I also would mention the killer in Michael Fassbender's bucket hat.
Yes.
And just Russell Crowe's Pope exorcist outfit, him in his like clergy uniform, is pretty funny. Okay, our next category we would add to the Oscars is best shot or one single frame. So this is kind of a spin-off cinematography, but it's
this
like
could go in a museum.
This would also be another good one to add to something like that. I put any of the faces Cillian Murphy makes in Oppenheimer, probably the one when the bomb goes off, or at the very end where he's at the pond with Albert Einstein.
And it's just the close-up of his eyes.
Yeah. You had when Barbie sheds one single tear in the real world on the bench.
That I feel like is an incredible shot. I feel like there's a lot of movies that have really, really pretty shots, but if you're going to summarize 2023 with one frame from one movie, it's probably both of those. Oppenheimer close-up, Barbie close-up. Mash them together.
Yeah, and I think, like, Napoleon had some good shots when they're on the ice lake fighting. Infinity Pool, when he's going through the infinity pool part, is really cool.
There's also a really crazy good shot in May, December where they're both kind of like looking in the mirror at the same time. It's very like Persona.
And then Poor Things.
I mean, Poor Things has 1,000 beautiful shots. Specifically, the one that is like her standing on the edge of the bridge and it's from behind her. That one is a really good shot. Like, yeah, there's several.
And then after that, we have best scene. So I would have in Oppenheimer when they do the Trinity test to test the bomb.
Yeah. Truly, I would, yeah.
The whole sequence in Mission Impossible where he jumps off the mountain onto the train and then they're on the train. That whole part. What are some other good scenes you would put?
I mean, if this was seen by popular choice, you know it would be Barry Keoghan at the end of Saltburn dancing to Murder on the Dance Floor. I mean, if it was popular, like most popular scene in a movie this year, that would be it.
For better or worse.
For better or worse. No prosthetics. But if I had to pick my favorite scene, I mean, we can't forget the penis monster in Beau is Afraid.
Yeah, or the sex scene, or
with
the Mariah Carey song. Yep. Yeah.
Honestly, I also think another really good scene is the chase in Holdovers. That part is so funny with the way Paul Giamatti runs.
Yeah, that part's really funny.
That scene is really good.
There's that one scene in Anatomy of a Fall where they're in the trial and they're playing the recording of a fight, and then they show
that scene is incredible.
Them acting it. Yeah, that one's really good.
That part is really good too. There's a lot, and then I think you could name a million different scenes. But if I had to pick one scene from the last year, I think the bomb test is probably the best scene.
Our next category is Best Directorial Debut. This one I had two people to mention. We have for Rye Lane, her name is Rain Allen Miller. And then for Past Lives, Celine Song.
It's going to end up, if we were to actually have this award, it would go to Celine Song very easily. But it's definitely worth noting that, like, the director of Rye Lane, it was their very first movie. That is kind of crazy. It's crazy to think that somebody could have a first movie and it be popular at all. Like...
Yeah, for like Celine Song, her first movie ever is nominated for Best Screenplay and
crazy.
Best Picture.
Yeah, that's awesome. Can you imagine that? Like, the first thing you ever do, they're like, by the way, it's the best.
Yeah.
I love that.
Our next one is Best Needle Drop Song.
Yeah, I mean...
So Murder on the Dance Floor, Saltburn. We kind of talked about that.
Yeah, There's several good needle drops in that movie, but I think that one is probably the most talked about. But another one that's really, really good is when they start playing Avril Lavigne in Bottoms. That is probably one of the best, like, at the moment it happened, you just, like, it's that moment of, like, we are so back. Like, you're just, like, so excited for, like, what's happening in the movie. And it's, like, the perfect moment for them to play, like, a very angsty song like that. Because it's, like, not all that serious of a movie, but it's, like, the one point of, like, kind of emotional depth. But even in that, like, emotional depth, it has to be really campy, so it plays Avril Lavigne. Like, what's better than that?
Yeah, and then The Killer has a lot of great
so many
moments where he's listening to songs.
The Smiths all the time. That's, like, all he listens to. And, like, that, I do like whenever he's, like, listening to it in his headphones and it's muffled and the camera is on him. And then it switches to his view through the binoculars and it's clear so that you're, like, in his view. And then it switches back and you hear it through, like, muffled headphones again. Like, yeah, I like how they did that. Yeah, the
editing is really good on that. Okay, our final category we would add Weirdo Vibes, or the Weirdest Vibes.
And I think, first of all, we mean this not in, like, a derogatory way at all. This is just, like, it is what it is. Second of all, we love weirdo vibes. Like, the weirder the better, pretty much, for us, for better or for worse. Like, even if something just is too weird for us, we appreciate it.
Yeah, at least they try to do something interesting.
Yeah. And third, I think, is that 2023 was the year of the weirdo movie revival, and I'm so excited for that because I would say, like, 25% of the movies that came out this year had one element that you're just kind of like, wait, what the fuck? Like, what is this movie? Like, every movie had something, well, 1/4 of the movies had, like, either a surrealist vibe, a freaky vibe, or just, like, a downright, like, oh, okay, they did that vibe. Like, there's just so many examples of this. Like, obviously the most talked about one in, like, pop culture right now is Saltburn, but the one that gets forgotten a lot is Beau is Afraid. That was the first, like, you're not really going to believe what you're going to watch in this movie because it's a really fucking weird movie type of, like, marketing campaign.
We also put Infinity Pool, which, again, the sequence where he goes through the Infinity Pool is really crazy.
The entire concept of the movie is crazy.
Yeah.
There's, like, also several...
I mean, Maestro was pretty weird, too.
Maestro was...
But in a bad way.
May December is definitely, like, a weird vibe. Like, it's quite specific in, like, the tone.
Poor Things.
Poor Things is the ultimate weirdo. Poor Things is,
like, its own category.
Its own breed. Its own Frankenstein, shall we say.
Knock at the Cabin is also really good, or really weird.
Good and weird, good synonymous. And weird, yeah.
Because they knock at the cabin, and then it gets weird.
The Killer was even kind of like a very off weirdo vibe. Yeah,
that one was more weird in, like, how the story was progressing.
Yeah. Yeah. And Asteroid City was also, like, just a pretty weird movie. Like the alien
Yeah.
scene in general is just like, wait, am I really watching this happen right now?
I think we take Wes Anderson for granted because I feel like if this was just some random person's first movie, Asteroid City, we would all be like, what the heck is this? It's like so weird. But because we're so used to his aesthetics,
We're like, oh, Wes, you just at it again, toning up the saturation and making us all feel weird. But like, again, you're right. If it had been a directorial debut of someone, we would be like, this is incredible, like losing our minds. But yeah, I think this was kind of the year of like weird vibes. I'm there for it though. I'm here for it. I'm there for it. I'm everywhere for it.
yeah, I think the Oscars should add these because it would make the ceremony much more exciting and fun, which is what is lacking.
Well, they try to do it with the host, and that never really works.
Yeah, no one really cares who the host is. I think most people don't even care how long it is because at the end of the day, it's like most people aren't gonna even sit and watch the whole thing anyway. They're just gonna watch the little snippets of who won and their speech. So I think if they just added more fun categories,
and like
it would make it better.
A couple of the categories that we mentioned, like we said, could be like easily commodified in some way into a museum, and then it's like, okay, now you have like a following for this award, and now you're gonna have a viewership because people want to go to your museum where you just store the item. And like, I'm just saying it's a good idea. That and like the single frame would be really cool because they could also put like the cell of like the footage above it. Like that would be so cool. There could be like, you know, a place where you go and you can just pick any year and watch the scene from that year, and it's just like this big button panel, and it's like you can watch the best scene of 2023, and it's just like a 2-minute thing, and you have a completely out of context, just, you know, moment that makes no sense if you haven't seen the movie, but it's cool to be able to just do that. But yeah, those are our honorary Oscars, and tell us what you think. What would you nominate? Is there anything that we forgot? Were there any good or better boys to nominate for the Goodest Bestest Boy Award that we're forgetting about? Let us know. We'll be back next time to talk more movies.